everyone. I'm Andre Aldridge, and welcome to NBA TV Basketballography. Certain players forge a legacy that goes well beyond what they achieved on the court. And today's subject certainly fits that description. Jack Twyman enjoyed a great playing career as a high-scoring forward with the Cincinnati Royals in the 1950s. But he will also be remembered as a great humanitarian for his tireless efforts on behalf of his friend and teammate Maurice Stokes. After Stokes was severely injured in an accident on the court, Jack stepped in to become his legal guardian, arranging for his medical and financial needs. And the devotion he showed during that ordeal made him just as much a hero as anything he had accomplished in basketball. Here's the story of Jack Twyman.
Tie game, 22 seconds, 21, 20 to go. All tied up. Hunley, they're maneuvering around. Interception by Twyman. He's going. And he hits it.
During his career, Jack Twyman became one of the best forwards in basketball. But it wasn't just his talent that made him a success. It was also his perseverance.
Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and as a result of growing a little bit, I was exposed to basketball and picked it up in grade school, then went to high school and really became excited about basketball. And I don't know if this is commonly known, but tried out for my high school basketball team as a freshman, got cut. Tried out for the team as a sophomore, got cut. Tried out for the team as a junior, got cut. And I guess I was a stubborn, obstinate young man, and I told the coach that he wasn't going to be able to cut me in my senior year. And so I made the team my senior year. We went on to have a pretty good year, and I had the opportunity to come to the University of Cincinnati, and so I got enamored with the game probably as a sophomore, junior in high school in Pittsburgh. I think basically in my case, I just determined myself that I wasn't the most gifted person in the world, but there weren't going to be anybody else that would work harder than I would to develop my skills, whether it be shooting or running, or I tried to keep in very good shape, and I practiced very hard on my shooting and developed a pretty good shot, one that I had confidence in. Early in my career at the University of Cincinnati, I was a two-handed set shot. And in my junior year, I moved out to a small forward and found myself having the shot blocked on numerous occasions. So I was forced to develop a jump shot, and forced to develop a jump shot being 6'5", 6'6", that had a high arc. I did not realize at the time that the arc did two things. It kept it away from the defender, but it also gave the ball a better path to the basket and made it a more likely shot to go in.
And go in they did. Jack scored nearly 1,600 points in his college career and was named an All-American as a senior before setting his sights even higher.
When I had some degree of success in college playing basketball, anybody that's worth their salt wants to continue their career and go against the best, and that's what I wanted to do. And I was confident that, again, I had the mindset and the work ethic that I was confident that if given the chance, I would be able to do whatever was necessary to make it in the NBA, and it worked out that way. I was very gratified, very satisfied. And yes, I wanted to play with the best, and I wanted to be in the NBA, and that was a goal of mine, which, having achieved it, was very satisfying.
But the 1955 NBA draft didn't turn out the way Jack had hoped.
I had been courted by Fort Wayne, and that was proximity to Cincinnati. So I was looking forward to playing in Fort Wayne, and when they passed up on me, the next team was Rochester, and they picked me after having picked Stokes number 1. I was the 9th pick in the draft. So I knew Maurice, and I knew that it was a team in evolution, and then when they picked Ed Fleming, the 3rd pick, 3 Pittsburgh guys, and for the first half of the season, we started 5 rookies, and we did very well. And then we went on an 11-game losing streak, but it was a chance to play, and the benefits far outweighed the disadvantages because I got a chance to play right away. We had a team that was learning to play with one another, and so it worked out very well.
Besides getting playing time, there was a new innovation that provided plenty of time for Jack's offensive skills to flourish, the 24-second clock.
It was an adjustment when you would come into the NBA and be forced to be more up and down the court, more running type game. So, you know, it was an interesting time in the evolution of basketball.
But there were also plenty of adjustments off the court for a rookie in the mid-1950s, and one of them was travel.
We would play a game in Rochester on a Friday night, jump on a train to Chicago, change trains in Chicago, and get into Minneapolis at 2 or 3 in the afternoon in time to go play a game. It's great to sit in the position I'm in now and look back on the early years of the NBA and say, I participated in that, and that's kind of neat.
The Royals' Jack Twyman hits from the corner to give Rochester the lead for the first time in the game.
Though Jack would become a star, the franchise was floundering at the box office. But things were about to take a dramatic turn.
We were having difficulty in Rochester, and there was a fellow by the name of Dave Piontek and myself. Dave was from Xavier University here in Cincinnati, and of course I was from the University of Cincinnati. And we kept saying that there's a natural rivalry with Fort Wayne, and that you should try one game in Cincinnati and take it to Cincinnati. Well, he did. We played at the Cincinnati Gardens. We were on radio and television, and we were sold out at the Gardens. The paper made a big thing out of it, and the Harrison brothers just said, wow, this is, I mean, you know, the Gardens would seat 12,500 people, and to be sold out, I mean, we were averaging like 1,500 in Rochester, and they said it didn't take a Rhodes Scholar to figure out that the economics of moving to Cincinnati was certainly attractive, and so they did. And I think we did well. I think basically the first year here, which was 58, we did well. We were supported. I think the Harrison brothers just were homesick for Rochester.
Emerging as the Royals' best player was Maurice Stokes, the NBA Rookie of the Year in 1956.
He was a huge, heavy Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. Maurice had the unique ability to play everywhere. He could play a guard, he could go inside and play a forward, and that was his strength. He was about 6'8" and about 260 and had the versatility to play anywhere on the court. I've seen him get a rebound, dribble the length of the floor, and lay it in at the other end. And I just hung around, and if they double-teamed him, I was generally there for a pass and could make the shot.
The Royals made the playoffs their first year in Cincinnati, but Stokes hit his head on the court in their last regular season game.
The date that Maurice took sick was March 15th. We were to begin in those years, the initial playoff was best 2 out of 3. So we started the following Saturday in Detroit, and Maurice wasn't feeling very well. We didn't know what it was, whether it was food poisoning or upset stomach or what. He didn't have a particularly good game. We didn't have a particularly good game as a team. We lost. The game was over about 4. I think we had about an 8 o'clock flight out of Willow Run, which was the old Detroit airport. So we got on the airplane, and sure enough, we got up in the air, and about 20 minutes into the flight, Maurice got deathly sick, and he was unconscious. The stewardess got the oxygen, and we were all very nervous, and we're 35, 40 minutes out of Cincinnati. We can wire ahead, have an ambulance waiting for us, which we did, and he can go straight to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which is in northern Kentucky. So we did that. It wasn't for, maybe a week or 10 days upon visiting Maurice that we found out how serious it was. But everybody on the team that Sunday night had their bags packed and went back to their respective homes, and I was the only Cincinnatian there. So in essence, I was the only person that resided in Cincinnati that knew what the circumstances were, and certain things had to be done, and I did them. That's all. It wasn't a big deal.
Jack fought to get workman's compensation for Maurice, and then was approached by a man who had another idea for raising funds.
He said, "Jack, my name is Milton Kutcher. I own a little hotel in Monticello, New York. I think you need some financial help. Why don't we have a game? I'll provide everything but the players. You get the players there, and we'll feed them, we'll house them, we'll give them a good time, and we'll try and raise some money for Stokes. Well, I want to tell you, that first year, we probably had 80 players show up. It was just a matter of, hey, we need your help. We're going to play this game at Kutcher's. And everybody on the East Coast showed up at their expense.
Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain is the man to watch on the tap-off and throughout the professional All-Star Game at Monticello, New York. The game is a benefit for the stricken Maurice Stokes, and a brilliant performance by all hands.
I mean, he loved it. It just gave him such an inspiration to have all the players come by and wish him well.
4 years later, Twyman accepted an award naming both he and Stokes as the most courageous athletes of the decade.
4 years ago, he was virtually a dead man, just lying there, and he's battled back. And there's only one reason why he has, and that's the intangible that you refer to as courage or gut.
Jack, I guess you're pretty proud of these guys in the National Basketball League that come around every year, huh?
Well, Sam, I sure am. The fraternity of professional athletes, I think, is a wonderful thing. So there's a strong sense of loyalty among the players that are here this evening, and they are here to try and do something for one of their fellow ball players.
Maurice passed away in 1970, but Jack has always carried his memory with him.
A lot of people said what I did for Maurice. Let me tell you, he gave me a lot more than I gave him, just to be witness to what he went through for 12 years and to be witness to the wonderful charity on the part of many, many people was something that my family and I benefited from tremendously. We still think about Maurice.
Barkhorn takes it down into Twyman. His jump shot hits.
Jack Twyman was an offensive force in Cincinnati, where his high-arcing jump shot helped him make 6 straight All-Star appearances.
As a player, to get 59 in a game, I can remember, you know, you had that feeling that, man, the hoop was like the Grand Canyon.
Twyman shooting again. He hit that one going out of bounds. You notice the difference of arches at Twyman and Baylor. Twyman uses a high arch and Baylor throws a flat trajectory shot.
I would not have survived in the NBA had I not been fairly proficient in the other skills. Rebounding was a matter of boxing out and being stubborn enough to take the man that you're guarding and keep him away from the board. Passing was a natural evolution, and defense was just hard work, determination, which I thought I understood that challenge. So I think, you know, I probably would be remembered for my shooting, but you don't last as long as I did in the NBA and not be fairly proficient in the other aspects of the game. A lot of people say my next pass will probably be my first one, but that's okay.
In the 59-60 season, Twyman joined with a rookie named Wilt Chamberlain as the first NBA players to average 30 points a game.
My wonderful timing again. I went over 30 the same year Chamberlain came in the league.
Wilt on. Twyman for the rebound. He hits. Twyman just scored his 31st point. 3 games this season now in a row. He's gone over at least 30 points in the game and scoring.
I was very proud of that. First guy in the NBA history to go over 30, but Chamberlain decided he wanted to go on the offense that year too.
Twyman and the Royals have been shaken by the loss of their teammate, Maurice Stokes, but help was on the way in 1960.
You have to just kind of regroup and rebuild, and that's what we had to do. And so that's what we dedicated ourselves to doing, waiting for the Jerry Lucases and the Oscar Robertsons.
This was Oscar's first year in the league, and he has been voted its Rookie of the Year. 3 times an All-American at Cincinnati University, the Vigo is a great playmaker and led the league in assists. At 6'5", he also rebounds with the best.
Well, Oscar didn't miss a beat. He came in and elevated our team, gave us a very serious scoring threat, offensive threat from day one. It was apparent that he was going to be one of the outstanding pros, and certainly was. And we, I think, complemented one another.
There's Oscar Robertson stealing for Cincinnati. The pass goes to Wayne Embry, whose shot is missed, but Jack Twyman rebounds for the Royals.
I always contend that the foundation we had when we moved here to Cincinnati, one, had Maurice not taken sick, he would have been one of the top 5 players ever to play in the game, and 2, we would have made the people forget about the Boston Celtic dynasty.
In 1963, the Celtics were on a run of 4 straight championships and 5 of the last 6. Then they ran into Cincinnati in the Eastern Division Finals.
We did very well against them. I can remember we beat Syracuse in the semis, and we went to Boston, and we beat Boston twice in Boston.
The Cincinnati Royals are generally considered to be the only team in the Eastern Division of the NBA capable of dethroning the world champion Boston Celtics.
But our management here in Cincinnati, in their infinite wisdom, scheduled the Shrine Circus at the Gardens. And we had to play the 2 Cincinnati games at Xavier University, Schmidt Fieldhouse, and were beat. And we lost in the 7th game in Boston, and that's the closest we came to dethroning the Boston Celtics. A combination of things precipitated my retirement. One, happily, my insurance business was growing to the point where it demanded more of my time. And secondly, in an effort to not get the bends from leaving a sport that I was part of for, my whole life, the ability to stay associated with us vis-a-vis the television was terrific. And I did that for 5 years.
And let's go into the Milwaukee dressing room, and here is Jack Twyman. There's the big Oscar, congratulations. Thanks, Jack. Big win for you. What do you feel? Is this better than the days that you see? Oh, it's great, guys. Finally got it.
Seeing his former teammate win a title was just one memorable moment from Jack's TV career. Another came in Game 7 of the 1970 finals.
Willis came out, and he was dragging his leg. And we both looked at one another and we said, there is no way on God's earth that this guy's going to play. Fast forward to the game. We're sitting up there, and 2 minutes before the game was to begin, this guy that was down in front of the locker room said, the door just opened, the doctor came out with him, Willis is going to play.
And I think we see Willis coming out.
Here he comes right now. 6 feet 10 from Grambling, the captain of the Knicks, the most valuable player of the NBA.
The ABC time was really very good and very entertaining, and I enjoyed it a great deal.
Even after Twyman left basketball, he carried the experiences with him, and it helped him become successful in his endeavors outside the game.
The lessons I learned in basketball, I applied in my business. Fortitude, teamwork, working together, competitiveness, all translated into things that I did in business. And it was very valuable. And anybody that is in athletics that thinks about athletics unto itself is missing an opportunity to really prepare themselves for the rest of their lives, because the lessons you learn playing on a team and playing at the level we played at are easily transferable into the world of business. And I, for one, saw that firsthand, and am very proud of the experiences I had in sports being transferable into the business world. I've been a very fortunate guy, and I've tried to do the best I could and worked as hard as I could. And it's funny, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
All the hard work culminated in one crowning achievement in 1982. Jack Twyman was enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I was very proud of my career, and we've gone through, what it took, cut 3 years in a row in high school, and to have been able to then overcome that and play in the NBA for as long as I played, and to play in the AllStar games I played in. I didn't win a championship, and that's something I, would have liked to have been able to participate in that. But I think I said, when I went in, that what it did, and I was very much in business at the time, and my basketball career was behind me. But what it did was tie a nice, neat red ribbon around something that was very dear to me, and enabled me to say, I really did it. And all the hard work, it was worth it. And I conducted myself in a manner that I'm proud of, and I can look back, and my grandkids can look back and say, you know, he did okay. And that, from that standpoint, that's what it meant to me.
Jack Twyman returned to center stage at the Hall of Fame in 2004, this time to represent his late teammate Maurice Stokes upon his enshrinement in Springfield. For years after his death, Jack conducted a lobbying campaign for Maurice to be elected to the Hall. His persistence finally paid off. And today, the spirit of Jack's devotion to Maurice is being carried on in a different way. The annual Stokes charity basketball game in the Catskills has been replaced by a celebrity golf tournament. The money is used to benefit former NBA players who have fallen on hard times and need financial assistance. Thanks for joining us on this edition of NBA TV Basketballography. We'll see you next time.